Welcome to Faith in the Working, a ministry created by teens for teens who want to learn how to apply God's Word to their lives in a real, authentic way.
Hello, how are you all doing today? It's a blessing having you on, and we thank you for coming on Faith in the Working. Today's sermon is a separate one, no mini-series, but this is about temptation. It's called Temptation, the struggle, the peak, and the blessing. I believe here when we're looking at temptations, there's three things that need to be addressed here is the struggle with it, the peak. What is the peak of temptation? Or for some people, a peak of temptation is different from others. And the blessing. If you do not fall into this temptation and actually do the sin, there are blessings that follow. Just to start off and to make it clear, temptation, being tempted, doesn't mean you're sinning. If you're being tempted, that doesn't mean you're in sin. It's the choice you make that will follow up whether it's sin or not sin, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence. We're looking at our first verse, James chapter 1, 13 through 14. We need to always realize God is never tempting us. Satan tempts us. God may allow Satan to tempt us, but it is Satan who is the key component who tries to tempt us, try to get us to slip up in our Christian lives. That is the major warfare that we're in. Satan trying to get us to sin, and there are many things he can use to get us to slip up in times. For some people it's alcohol, some people it's sex, some people it's drugs. God never wants you to slip up though, but he may test you at times. And it might seem that God is tempting you, but he's not. So you always need to remember, don't get mad at God. Don't curse him out. Looking at this verse I wanted to start off with, James chapter 1, 13 through 14, it says here, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when by his own evil desire he is dragged away and enticed. So, the verb refers to temptation it tests one's moral strength. It's testing whether or not this person can withstand this sin. It says here they will be dragged away and enticed. Not literally, but it's saying when, for example, one person may be struggling with drugs and may have just been saved, and through their Christian life, there may be a time where drugs are put in front of them. Their moral strength may be tested, or Satan may want to trip them up with the temptation. And it might be hard, and because yes, this is the struggle. Temptation is a struggle. And like I said, it's testing the moral fiber of the person. It's testing, okay, are you being tempted with this? Are you going to say no to it? Or are you going to say yes and be dragged away and enticed? Now, the peak of temptation, we're looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 and 13. So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you do not fall. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. So it's saying two things here in the struggle of temptation. Excuse me, I said peak earlier, I meant the struggle. It's saying, so it says here, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. So that's saying is, oh, I'm being tempted, but I can stand firm. I can withstand any temptation. I can go through anything. But it says there, be careful that you don't fall. And in my Bible, it's an exclamation mark. That's saying you may go out, think you know what you're doing, but you will fall if you make the wrong choice. And then it also says, no temptation has seized you except what is common to man. What that is saying is, don't go out saying, oh my goodness, this temptation, I can't handle this. No one's ever been tempted with drugs before like I have. There is someone out there, there is one person out there, I guarantee you, who is going through the same struggle, same temptation that you are. And that is the best thing about fellowship again, is because you're able to contact with these people, go over this problem, meditate, and contact yourself with Christ, God. Be able to pray and go over this. You can't do this alone. God's not looking for scholars and stuff who think they can find the answer on how they feel that it was the Big Bang who blew up some planet and the boom, you got Saturn, Earth, Mars, Uranus, whatever. He's looking for the people who go, I'm being tempted, I am sinful, Lord, can you help me out with this? So this is very significant to look at in tempting and being tempted. Now, we looked at the struggle of temptation. Here's the peak. Satan does tempt you, but God will never allow Satan to tempt you over what you can't handle. God will never allow you to trip up over something that is overly rigorous to go through. So, here's the blessing. If you pass the test, if you go against the temptation and say no, you learn from it so that when temptations of the same are to come, you are able to withstand it. You're able to help others. Second, all over the Bible it says, living a Christian life, being able to resist that temptation brings you blessings. It's in plain black and white in the Bible. And third, it's just another reason why God will say, good job, my faithful servant. Good job, my well and faithful servant. It's just another treasure added into heaven for you. So we're going to be looking at 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 6 through 7. It says here, in this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer for grief and all the kinds of trials. These have to come so that your faith are greater worth than gold, which perishes even through refined by fire. So it's just saying that you do suffer. There may be times you suffer in temptations, but these have to come so that your faith will be of greater worth than gold. So I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to Faith in the Working Ministries. I'm glad that I've had to have you this far, and I want to remind you all that coming this June 4th will be a fellowship night at Simi Hills Church. We'll have you log on at Faith in the Working, our website, and you'll be able to pick up more information and able to get tickets right off our website. Thank you so much, and God bless.